A grandmother was close to getting out of a bad relationship when this happened.
We're tired of burying our women to abusers.
Samantha Bozeman tried to close the door on her 4-year relationship with Maxwell Lartery, and in retaliation, he fired a gun through her front door, captured on Ring video, and killed her. The two trial prosecutors say Lartery, 33 at the time of the shooting, had not been contributing to the household bills and wanted Ms. Bozeman, 51 at the time, to give up custody of 2 of her grandchildren.
Y'all, let me tell you something. When a grown man fires 4 shots through your front door and 3 of them hit you, that ain't no crime of passion. That's straight up execution. And girl, the Ring camera caught everything. Samantha Bozeman thought locking her door would keep her safe from Maxwell Lartery. But hey, sometimes the most dangerous moment is right after you finally say, I'm done. Like, make it make sense. While this 51-year-old grandmother was bleeding out on her kitchen floor, this man was at Hooters eating wings. Hooters, period. This is the story of a woman who loved deeply, protected fiercely, and died trying to walk away. This is the murder of Samantha Bozeman. If you're into real true crime stories that dig deep into the facts and the people behind them, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We post new videos every single day, so there's always another case to uncover, another truth to explore. Now let me tell you about Samantha Bozeman, because she wasn't just any grandmother, she was that grandmother. The one who showed up early, made sure there was food on the table even when her own plate was empty. The one who adopted her grandkids when nobody else could or would. Chilly, she didn't just take care of children, she raised futures. Her smile was pure warmth, her energy, infectious. People who knew her called her a happy helping person. You know, the kind who gave without keeping score. But even women like Samantha can end up loving the wrong person. Enter Maxwell Lartery, 33 years old, 17 years younger than Samantha. No career, no direction, but he had just enough charm to get close and stay way too long. For 4 years, and Samantha tried to make it work. But hey, love alone don't pay bills, and it sure don't raise children. This man lived in her home but didn't contribute. Not financially, not emotionally. He didn't lift her up, he wore her down. Like, girl, imagine working hard to provide for your adopted grandchildren, and you got a grown man asking you to give up custody of the very kids you fought to raise. That was the breaking point. But moving on, domestic violence don't always leave bruises on your skin. Sometimes it leaves stress in your chest, tears in your pillow, silence in your spirit. Maxwell Lartery wasn't just taking up space in Samantha's home. He was draining it of safety. He didn't work, he didn't pay rent, but he demanded. He expected. He weaponized guilt. Give up the kids, he said. Make room for me. Like her grandchildren were obstacles to his comfort. Like the children she had legally adopted, fed, raised, and fought for were negotiable. Or as one family member put it, he wanted to be the only kid in the house. Now that's economic abuse, and it's one of the most invisible, dangerous forms of control. But Samantha pushed back, and with that push came danger, because the man who contributes nothing often lashes out the loudest when you finally say no. Zipporah, Samantha's daughter, remembers it clearly. Her mom showed up at her job crying, shaking, exhausted. All she said was,
She was like, I'm done with him, and everything like that.
And she meant it. But walking away from toxic love ain't easy. And sometimes when you finally build the courage to leave, that's when they decide you can't. Prosecutors later revealed there had been threats, control, escalation, the kind that builds like pressure in a pipe until one day it explodes. Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis put it plainly.
We're tired of burying our women to abusers.
And in Samantha's case, that burial came far too soon. Because once she said no, once she truly meant it, Maxwell decided if he couldn't have her life the way he wanted it, he'd take it completely. This wasn't a crime of passion. This wasn't a moment of confusion. This was control, coercion, a warped sense of ownership that turned lethal the moment Samantha chose herself. Before we get into what happened next, let me tell you something. If this story is hitting you in your chest, if you're recognizing patterns in your own life or somebody you love, please don't scroll past this. Hit that subscribe button, because we're about to dive deep into how things went from bad to deadly real quick. And y'all, sharing these stories might just save somebody's life. Period. So anyways, Samantha Bozeman had finally made her choice. She wasn't begging for peace anymore. She was claiming it. She had told her daughter, she had told herself, it's over. She locked the door on Maxwell Lartery, both literally and emotionally. But hey, here's the cruel part about domestic abuse. Sometimes the most dangerous moment is right after you decide to leave. Like, make it make sense. February 5th, 2024. Sandridge Place, a quiet street in the Sandalwood Estate subdivision of Southwest Atlanta. That's where Samantha had built her little world, a red brick home filled with love, laughter, and the grandchildren she was raising with pride. That evening, everything changed. Moving on to what went down. Samantha thought she was finally free. She thought that locked door meant safety. But safety means nothing when someone is determined to destroy you. And Maxwell Lartery, he was determined. The pressure had been building for weeks. He knew she was done. He knew his free ride was over. He knew those grandkids he wanted gone weren't going anywhere, and neither was he unless she made him leave. So what did he do? He decided if he couldn't control her life, he'd end it. At 6:12 that evening, neighbors heard something that chilled them to the bone. Gunshots. Multiple gunshots. And when they couldn't reach Samantha on the phone for hours, they called for a welfare check. When officers arrived at her home, they couldn't get in. The front door was still locked, just like Samantha had left it. No response from inside. Just silence. That's when Atlanta Fire Rescue was called because they had to physically force their way into that house. What they found inside would haunt even the most seasoned officers. Samantha was lying in her kitchen, unresponsive. She had been shot multiple times. 3 bullets had torn into her body. And Chilla, according to the coroner, she hadn't died instantly. She had been alive for a while, bleeding out alone in the very home where she once felt safe. There was shattered glass everywhere, shell casings scattered across the floor. The front door showed visible bullet holes. And on her Ring doorbell, a video that captured it all. Let me tell you what that camera recorded, because this is where it gets real. Maxwell's voice, his threats, his footsteps. Then 4 deafening shots through that closed door. On that footage, clear as day, you can hear Maxwell Lartery outside the front door pacing. His voice angry, controlling, threatening. If you come outside, I'm going to shoot you. I'm going to shoot your house. He wasn't hiding his intent. He was announcing it. This wasn't some heated argument. This was a promise of violence. Then came the moment. No argument. No forced entry. Just 4 gunshots through the front door. 3 of those bullets found Samantha. She had locked him out, thinking that would keep her safe. But that lock became a trap. And girl, what happened next will make you sick to your stomach. While Samantha lay dying on her kitchen floor, Maxwell didn't call for help. He didn't stay. He didn't panic. No, this man walked away from Samantha Bozeman's bleeding body like it was nothing. Like her life was disposable. Like her final moments didn't matter. He left her there to die alone and went out to build himself a story. Not to confess, not to hide. He went out to fabricate an alibi. He wandered across Metro Atlanta, showed up at a strip club, then made his way to Hooters. Ordered food, laughed with people, pretended like his hands weren't metaphorically still smoking from the gun he just fired. Hours passed. Samantha's body was still there, unattended, uncared for. And Maxwell, he was out there eating wings, trying to create the illusion that he had nothing to do with her murder. That ain't panic, Chili. That's calculation. That's cold blood. Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis didn't mince words when she called it exactly what it was, a horrible disregard for life. Because this wasn't just about ending Samantha's life. It was about the complete lack of humanity afterward, the decision to let her die slowly, quietly, in the very home she used to protect others. But what Maxwell didn't count on was that Ring camera, the one that caught his face, his voice, his footsteps, his threats, and those 4 fatal shots. It told the truth he tried to bury. That little camera became Samantha's voice when she couldn't speak for herself anymore. Now let me tell you how justice started working. When investigators reviewed that Ring footage, they weren't just looking at a timeline, they were watching a woman's final moments and listening to the voice of her killer. That video was everything. It showed prosecutors, jurors, and the world that this wasn't some fight that got out of hand. It wasn't heat of the moment, it was premeditated, calculated, deliberate. Maxwell came to that house with a gun. He made threats. Then he followed through. Without that footage, this man might have sold his Hooters alibi. He might have walked free. He might have claimed he hadn't even been there. But that tiny camera on Samantha's front door shattered every lie he tried to tell. The evidence was overwhelming. They had the Ring video showing him making threats and firing those shots. They had ballistic evidence, shell casings, the trajectory of the bullets. They had his movements around Atlanta that night, from the crime scene to the strip club to Hooters, building that fake timeline while Samantha was bleeding out. It became the strongest witness in Samantha's case, a silent guardian that barked only after the damage was done. And the weight of that footage, the clarity, the brutality, left no room for doubt. Samantha couldn't speak for herself anymore, but her doorbell sure did. In March of 2024, just weeks after her murder, Maxwell Lartery was arrested and charged. Gone was the smug man trying to hide behind Hooters receipts. Now he was in custody, facing the weight of what he had done. The case moved deliberately. Prosecutors built it brick by brick, and when it went to trial, it was laid bare. This wasn't some tragic misunderstanding. This was murder. Cold, close range, and personal. And girl, a year later in March 2025, a jury confirmed what Samantha's family had known all along. Maxwell Lartery was convicted of murder. The courtroom was quiet when that verdict came down. Senior Judge David Emerson handed down the sentence: life in prison with the possibility of parole, plus 5 additional years and 10 years probation if he ever walks free. For some people, it felt like justice. For others, it didn't feel like enough because Samantha was still gone. But hey, at least someone finally said what needed to be said. He did it. But anyways, the story wasn't done. Shortly after sentencing, Lartery's legal team filed a motion for a new trial. They want a second chance, the same kind of second chance Samantha never got. But the district attorney's office, they ain't budging. To them, the evidence is clear, the footage is damning, and the jury got it right the first time. So now we wait for appeals, for decisions, for another court date. But one thing remains the same. Samantha Bozeman is still gone, and the man who took her life is exactly where he belongs. You can read court transcripts, you can watch ring footage, you can count bullets and follow timelines, but you'll never be able to measure the emptiness left behind. Samantha Bozeman was more than a victim. She was a mother, a grandmother, a woman who held her family together like glue. And now she's gone.
A grandmother was close to getting out of a bad relationship when this happened.
She had shut and locked her front door, and he shot 4 times through her front door, hitting her 3 times.
New at 6, how the gunman tried to use the local Hooters to confuse detectives and establish an alibi. A family now has justice after their loved one was shot and killed by an abusive boyfriend.
This is video of that shooting. The victim was inside her home when her boyfriend of 4 years fired through the door, killing her.
Now, Cassie Hall, the lead prosecutor on the case, says domestic abuse can take many forms. Part of the reason the Fulton County DA's office has an entire division devoted to domestic violence, and in this case, there is economic abuse, but then physical violence, murder.
I just was broken, completely broken, shattered.
We're tired of burying our women to abusers.
I break down and cry every single day. Some days I don't even want to go on.
It's like, okay, you guilty. Dang, my mom still is not gonna hug me. And my mom's still not here. But he needs to be locked up.
Samantha Bozeman tried to close the door on her 4-year relationship with Maxwell Lartery, and in retaliation, he fired a gun through her front door, captured on Ring video, and killed her. Say Fulton County Chief Senior Assistant District Attorneys Cassie Hall and Christina Robinson.
And there's another video that I have where he's saying, if you come outside, I'm gonna shoot your house.
Who say Max Lartery fired 4 shots through the door and 3 of them struck Samantha Bozeman, mortally wounding her.
Is there a lesson for others in troubled relationships? I would say yes. I would say knowing enough is enough.
Ms. Hall and Ms. Robinson say earlier this month a jury convicted Lartery of murder and more. And Senior Judge David Emerson sentenced him to life in prison with the possibility of parole, plus 5 years, plus 10 years probation if he ever made parole.
She's just a beautiful spirit, just happy, joyful. She'll get on you if she had to, but she was just a happy, helping person.
The 2 trial prosecutors say Lartery, 33 at the time of the shooting, had not been contributing to the household bills and wanted Ms. Bozeman, 51 at the time, to give up custody of 2 of her grandchildren, whom she had adopted. Zipporah Ferguson says shortly before the shooting, her mom came to Ms. Ferguson's job crying.
She was like, I'm done with him, and everything like that.
Prosecutors say Atlanta police, alerted by neighbors who heard gunshots earlier in the day and had not been able to reach Ms. Bozeman on her phone for hours, arrived to find shattered glass and shell casings. And in her kitchen, police found Samantha Bozeman dead, though she had been alive and bleeding for some time and might have lived if Lartery had called for help soon after the shooting.
He's walking down the street calling her out of her name. He's still making threats.
Instead, Ms. Robinson and Ms. Hall say Lartery traveled about Metro Atlanta, trying to establish an alibi, finishing the night at a Hooters, though by that time her death had been discovered hours earlier. District Attorney Fonnie Willis.
As this grandmother lay and bleed out in her very home, he was gallivanting all through the town, ending his night at a Hooters. It's just a horrible disregard for life.
People think of domestic violence as just physical, but it can be economic abuse. He wasn't paying bills. He wasn't being a responsible male.
She was able to be financially stable, travel around a lot, and she just wanted to genuinely help Max.
Now, spokesman said the Fulton County Public Defender's Office represented Mr. Lartery, though we must decline additional comments as a motion for a new trial has been filed. We use imagery obtained through the Fulton County District Attorney's Office and the family for this story. Reporting live at the Domestic Violence Division for the DA's office, Mark Winnie, Channel 2 Action News.
Her daughter said it best, "I break down and cry every single day. Some days I don't even want to go on. Because how do you move on from something like this? How do you explain to grandchildren why grandma's not coming home? Why the house is quiet? Why the hugs stopped? Let me tell you something. Samantha's story didn't just end in tragedy. It ended with a warning. Because domestic violence doesn't always look like black eyes or broken bones. Sometimes it looks like emotional exhaustion, economic control, silence. Sometimes it looks like a woman begging a man to contribute, not just financially, but emotionally. Sometimes it looks like a grandmother trying to hold on to her family while quietly losing herself. Maxwell Lartery didn't just pull a trigger. He pulled her apart piece by piece until she had nothing left but the will to finally say, "I'm done." And the moment she stood up for herself was the moment she was taken away. So let this case be more than another headline. Let it be a reason to pay attention. If you or someone you know is experiencing any form of domestic abuse, say something. Offer support. Don't wait until the bruises are visible or the obituary is written. But moving on to the real talk, we need to start recognizing abuse in all its forms, emotional, physical, economic, and we need to stop expecting victims to leave silently, peacefully, or perfectly. The pattern was clear: a man 17 years younger, living off Samantha's kindness, refusing to contribute, demanding she give up her adopted grandchildren, emotionally draining her until she found the strength to walk away. Then came the threats, the doorbell camera, the 4 shots. She bled to death while he was busy fabricating an alibi. This was a grandmother planning her escape, a story cut tragically short. And if we've learned anything, it's that abuse rarely starts with violence, but it almost always ends there. So remember Samantha's name. Talk about her story. Tell your sisters, your daughters, your mothers, your friends that economic abuse is real, that threats are never just words, and that when someone says "I'm done," they should be protected, not punished. May her memory be more than mourning. May it be a movement. And may no other grandmother, no other mother, no other woman have to pay with her life just to be free. This was the story of Samantha Bozeman. Let it be the reason someone else survives. Thanks for watching Unheard Cries TV. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you haven't already, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. We upload new true crime content daily, covering cases you know and many you don't. Stick with us as we bring you more stories that deserve to be heard. See you in the next video.